Hi, this is Bill Harper, and we're back with our integrating and extending AppDynamics series. We're on part 3 now. What we're going to look at in part 3 is alerting and webhooks and email templates. This is the agenda we've had, extending Splunk AppDynamics, the types of integrations, and like I said, there's many ways to do this, and we're on like the third video. We'll focus in on that, and then we'll do a short demo. Extending Splunk AppDynamics. So we've gone through the first two integration types, built-in integration modules and API integrations, and now we're going to look at this through the lens of a webhook and alerting, integrated response with custom payloads. Webhook and alerting. AppDynamics can provide alerts through email or a webhook using a health rule, a policy, and an action. And if you look out to the side there, this is how the flow of an alert works. You have a performance metric out there, then some sort of violation happens, health rule violation or whatever. You have a policy set up that catches that health rule violation or event. It triggers an action, and the action sends an alert either through a webhook or through an email template. We allow you to use customized alerting payloads using templating variables. It's based on a technology called Velocity, which is an open source Java thing. And templating variables can render information about the alert in the payload, like the application name, the type of the alert that we just received. It can be context around the alert, like, your 10, particular text around that your CPU is 100% busy. Other options can be found in our documentation. There's a bunch of templating variables in the product that can be used to, form custom payloads for alerting. Many ISV partners that do event correlation or service incident management have built AppDynamics integrations using a webhook with custom templating variables. Include, not to mention, ServiceNow, PagerDuty, BigPanda, Moogsoft, AlertOps, Splunk On Call, which used to be VictorOps, and many more. And I've even built one that's an alerting template that goes into Slack and produces a pretty cool rendering in Slack. Example payloads do exist in our documentation, but check with your ISV to make sure you're going to get the most current version if you're going to set one of these up. There are a lot more than I've listed here. I've only listed kind of the ones that were top of mind, but there's a lot more people that have done integrations using this webhook template, and customers have done it too. All the templating variables that are available are in the Splunk AppDynamics documentation. You can refer to them there, and it's best when you use this, you can kind of toy around with it and see sort of what information you want to get into your custom alerts. The use case for this is typically by partners, like I mentioned above, but customers use this too to create alerts. Like I said, I built one for Slack, and a lot of customers have used that. It's documented in our community. So next, we're going to jump in and do a demo. Hi, Bill Harper. We're back for a demo to show you a little bit about the alerting integrations with the custom payloads that many of our partners build. I'm going to head on over on the main sidebar menu to alert and respond. This is our alert and respond model. The way it works is you have some sort of performance metric that violates a health rule or is detected as an anomaly. It triggers a policy if you have a policy set up, and then a policy can execute an action. And we're going to focus on email notifications and HTTP requests, otherwise known as a webhook. What I'm going to do next is head into the template area here, email templates and HTTP templates, and give you a tour. So we've double clicked into the email templates directory, and we're going to open one of these up and show it to you. This is a custom payload for email. It uses what I termed earlier in the slides of templating variables that are built around Velocity. And you can see a couple of them here. In this payload, you can see that this one here is like the name of the application, latest event.application.name. So this is a custom payload that you can create and send to your email the information that you are interested in. And I can actually test that out. There's probably some alerts going off right now as well, but I'm going to send a test over, app start, server restart, and then we're going to go take a look at it in the email tool. So we're headed on over to the email client, and we can see that payload that we just sent over is a custom payload. It was this one here. We actually have real alerts going off on here, but let's just take a look at the one we sent over. And we can see how those templating variables, they render the data that's behind them within AppDynamics. That's the sample one. We can go actually look at a real one. This looks like a real one here that was triggered, and it's been triggered a few times, but you can actually see a bit of information about that alert as it comes into the email client. And that's just an example of how to create a custom payload based on an alert coming from AppD and send it to an email alias email box. I'm taking you back to the AppDynamics controller, and I've gone ahead and clicked in on HTTP request templates. This is where you actually build webhooks, and you can use custom payloads with these webhooks just like you can in email. There's quite a few in here right here as examples. This is an integration for PagerDuty that's using a webhook with custom templating variables formatted a certain way for their system, similar for ServiceNow. This is one for Slack that basically produces a nice, pretty alert in Slack. This is one for Splunk. This is a testing one for a webhook site. What we'll do is we're going to double click into one of these and walk through it. I'm going to go ahead and double click into the Slack one because I'm familiar with that one, and we'll walk through that and explain how that works. And then what we're going to do next, after we take a look at the payload, is we're going to go into Slack and look at it, look at the alerts in Slack that this alerting template is producing. So I'm going to double click in, and you can see here, this is the payload. How to set this up is available in the Splunk AppDynamics community. It's, basically an example of how to do this. But what you can see in here, this is a combination of Slack's block formatting and AppDynamics velocity templating variables. And it produces a nice, pretty result in Slack. So you can see their latest event severity, and it's using some velocity logic. There's a programmability built into velocity, and you can see here that it's checking the severity to see if it's an error warning or if it's an info. And it basically puts an emoji based on what the response is to the color that represents it, like a red emoji or a yellow emoji or maybe a green emoji. So that's what this payload's doing. If we walk down it a little bit further, you can see here where we're looking at return codes, statuses, and you can even run a test from the screen here. So it's best to always test it before you hook it all the way up. And we'll go ahead and run a quick test here. We'll pick something that's noticeable in there. We'll pick transaction stall and run that test, and we're going to cancel it out. I talked earlier on the slide portion about how you invoke these webhooks, or these alerts, if you will. They're tied together with a policy. And you can see here's a policy. I'm going to go ahead and open it. This is the policy that's actually tied to two actions, an email action and a Slack action. If I go ahead and open that up, you can see here you can set what the violation criteria is. You can set the scope of the health rule. You can set the scope. And then this is where you actually choose the actions. And you can see here, this is the webhook action that's going into Slack, and this is the email action. What we're going to do next is let's head on over to Slack and take a look at what those alerts look like in Slack. So I've headed on over to the Slack instance that we were sending the alerts off to. And it seems like we have quite a few alerts in here. We'll go take a look at one. This nice, pretty style was built by Slack's block templating language. All the data in here, like when it occurred, the type of error, where it was triggered, that all comes from the templating variables within AppDynamics. I've even created a button here that's a deep link. I'm not going to click it now, but this is a deep link to take you back to where this error was generated within AppDynamics. And that's it for the integrations, showing you the webhook stuff and what is possible by using a webhook.